Good morning, everyone. My name is Debbie Mann, and I'm with Festivals and Events Ontario. Thank you for joining us today. We've got a great session that we're going to be doing with Judy Haber. Judy Haber is from Performance Sponsorship Group, and she has a wealth of information to share with us about naming rights and sponsorship, and for any questions that you may have. So. Remember to mute yourself. If you have any questions, raise your hand or just unmute yourself and feel free to jump in. It is a conversation. We would just want to have some learning. So with that, welcome, Judy. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us again today.
Thank you,
Yay!
Debbie. Debbie, is there anyone you don't know?
I've been here for 17 years, Judy.
Oh,
It's
okay. We're not counting.
we're not
Um,
counting. We're not counting.
so I do see some names of some people that I actually met. Was it 2 years ago that we were live?
Yeah, yeah.
Seems like a lot longer. So I welcome those of you back, and I apologize in advance if you've heard some of the things that I have said. But, as you know, some good things are worth repeating. Today is about you. So in order for it to be about you, I do need you to participate. I need you to ask questions. As much as I try to customize this for everyone, obviously some information will be relative to some people and other information will be relative to others. It's always my hope that you walk away with one good idea, and if you have two good ideas that you walk away with, then it's a score. The conversation today is, at least the title, is what municipalities, towns, cities, not only in Ontario, but across the country, are doing to make up for the lost income that we have appreciated from the event business. So we will segue into that strategic thinking, and I'll provide some examples later in the conversation. But what we're going to start with is the event business. And thanks, Jay. And this event is a sample, but it is a good illustration for us for what's happening in 2022. And I want to segue into this conversation explaining that what we're experiencing at the agency here is growth and interest. It's almost like, and I know all of you can relate to this, but we've all been living somewhat in a box, for lack of better words, and can't wait to get out. Me included, my partner included, my parents. I mean, we are all very hopeful that this summer and obviously this fall, we are out tasting, sampling, engaging, participating. I think we need the engagement and the interaction more than ever. But more important to us as an industry specialist is what companies are needing. And, a year ago, experiential marketing firms as large as Mosaic, as an example, were laying off all their staff. If you now look and see where the jobs are, everybody is looking for people to join their team because products have reinvented themselves and are looking for locations and experiences to be live. So let's get into some specifics and some tactics that I use every single day. And I do urge you to participate here. I'm going to start with the thing that I do every single morning, and those of you who know me know I'm really good before 8 a.m. I think from there I start declining. What do I do first thing in the morning? What is the first site I go to, other than, okay, I'll be very honest, seeing that we're getting to know each other now, other than checking the stock market, I then move to LinkedIn. I spend on average an hour and a half a day on LinkedIn. So, and I'll explain why. But I do hope that the 59 participants on this call are on LinkedIn. If you're not, get on LinkedIn. So this morning, for example, I watched Who's Hiring, which tells me their company is growing, whether they're looking for marketing specialists or sales specialists or ambassadors. So not only who's hiring from a brand point of view, but who's hiring from an agency point of view. That gives me a lot of information in terms of lead generation, which is how I spend 80% of my life. 15% is spent on LinkedIn, which is lead generation. And the other 85% is actually the same. It's lead generation, only using other sources. So I urge you to go onto LinkedIn and give some consideration to what your objective is with your event this year. I'm presuming you already have a strategy. And what I mean by that is, are you going to sell naming rights? Like you see in front of you, Constantine is a builder. We sold naming rights to Constantine for $100,000. So they own the brand. Are you going to sell naming rights to your property? Are you going to sell presenting status? Presenting status would mean Constantine Yorkville Run presented by Rogers, as an example. They would be part of the word mark. So what is your strategy? And then, are you going to sell suppliers, partners? What are the different categories that you're giving consideration to? What is the price of those categories? Again, I know all of you know this. And more important, what are the benefits and entitlements? If we could move on, Jay, to partners, if you could click on partners. So the strategy that we move forward with is that we sold title for $100,000, and then we had presenting partners at $30,000 each. And because this is an event for charities, in some cases, like Rogers, they actually donated $30,000. Actually, more than that. It was about $125,000, because the Rogers family was involved in the event. So they actually ran and raised money for one of their charities. Our objective through the pricing of our naming rights and our presenting sponsorship was to cover our operating costs. So sponsorship was, we worked backwards. We need $150,000, and our goal was to get there through sponsorship. Now, I know we've talked to in the past, and I'll repeat myself before you scroll, Jay, just a bit there. Over the Rainbow is a retail store, and they're paying $7,500 to have kit pickup. And I know we talked about that a couple of years ago, but if you do want to attract a retailer in a cash perspective, not a grocery store, we'll talk about that later, then it's great if you can send traffic into their store. And we talked about maybe giveaways, and you can scroll now. Thanks, Jay. These are companies that had products that they wanted to give to the participants. And through the kit pickup, whether it was $50 towards your next pair of ASIC shoes, or Pusateri's gave us $10 gift certificates, Italy gave us gift certificates. And I think if you keep going, Jay, keep scrolling down, you'll see many of these suppliers have products. Some of these brands you recognize, and those products were in the kit. And of course, when we did the survey post-event, everybody obviously just loved the giveaways. The other consideration in terms of your pricing and the benefits associated with the pricing is back to strategy, which is, who are you? And again, I know I've said this before, but are you a family event? Are you a family wagon event? Or are you a Lexus event? And as you can see from here, this event is a Lexus event, because what we want to attract are not really runners. We're trying to attract fundraisers. So you need to give some consideration to what are some brand synergies for you, because that impacts where you're going to look for leads. And we're going to talk about lead generation today too. You could scroll, Jay, for me. Keep going. Yep. We talked about, let's wallop them with good stuff. People tend to come back because they think it's free. Well, $150 worth of value. And is there another page that shows the charities? One of the, keep going. Here we go. The advantage we started raising millions of dollars. If in some way you can align your event with one charity, 2, 3, 5, 10, they do tend to bring a lot of value to your event. And I know you're a charity and you're trying to raise money, but some of us need the traffic, the foot trade. And if these charities in some way may be a beneficiary, they may be able to help you with your traffic numbers, which of course will help you in terms of recruiting sponsors moving forward. And there's so many different ways to involve charities, whether it's online, whether it's at the event if you're gated. Even if you're not gated, maybe create gates where people have the opportunity to give a toonie in return for a gift. Charities will be, especially local charities, whether it's the Big Brothers or it's the animal hospital, or, we all live in communities that have local charities, and they are looking for brand exposure and third-party events to raise money. So if you're in a position to give consideration to working with someone local or a few, build as you grow your event, that's worth considering. Debbie, do you have a question?
Yep, there's a couple of questions that have come up. So Tom asked, do sponsors who provide product for giveaway pay a sponsorship fee as well?
Tom, that is really up to you and your strategy. So, I'm throwing the ball back in your court. It depends how you've done with sponsorship from a title to presenter. My recommendation, especially if you want a lot of activity on site this year, inviting brands and going to experiential marketing firms, and how they are used to paying. But if it's free for them, you're more likely going to be able to get them there. So rather than nickel and dime so that you can fill your kit or fill your day with experiences, maybe you're better off getting the money in other ways and using the products and the experiential firms to enhance your event.
Does that answer your question, Tom? I don't know where Tom is in this. Um, you can just post it if that answers your question, Tom. That's great. Markham Jazz Festival has asked, have gift certificates measurably helped increase post-event survey responses?
Companies love to give away gift certificates because obviously they make money, because it brings people either into their store or online shopping. We find, and we've done post-event surveys every year, there's never been anything specific about gift certificates. They more reference the free, tangible stuff that they get.
Does that answer your question? You answered Tom's question, yes, and you answered the Markham Fair question. So, sorry to interrupt you. We can keep going.
Great. So you can go back to the first slide, and we're going to talk about how exciting it is for us right now, that we're moving into the summer and the fall, and the opportunity to refresh. People haven't seen us for a couple of years, and hopefully when they come out, they will see something different than the past. So what are you going to do that's going to be different? And one of the things that we're doing, and I have a call at 2:15 today, is we are going to post, what's the correct word? I'll call it a food festival, but it's not a food festival. It's going to be organic, all those sexy words, because it is Yorkville, which is as you know, a high-end demographic area in the city of downtown Toronto. So our participants and their families come and watch and engage tend to shop at Whole Foods or at Pusatari's, and they're eating and buying bio food and vegan, and as a matter of fact, I think that's what it's going to be called. It's going to be a vegan food festival, and that is something we have never done. And we've had about 25 charities on site, which helps with activation. It does help enhance the day, because the charities are giving away stuff, and they're there with their signs, and it's exciting. And the field, and some of us activate our events in fields, which is a great environment because it's contained. There's stuff for people to do. Like some charities bring games, like throw the bag and the whatever. It's all about experiential. And even some of the products come with their own games as well. So that is going to be new and different in addition to what we've done in the past. The other thing that we're doing, and again, forgive me for repeating myself, but we've never done this here with the run, is you probably remember seeing the name Rogers there. Well, Constantine, who is a developer, is in business with Rogers. Not Rogers Cable, but Edward Rogers. And we are going to run a pre and post event campaign. So this event isn't just about September 11th, 2022. This event is going to be a radio campaign pre and post. And what we're going, I have done this before. What we're going to do is we're going to have spots, 30-second spots, pre-event, raising awareness about the money that we're generating, encouraging our participants to fundraise, and giving recognition to various partners in the event. So they're going to get media pre-event and post-event. It'll be a week before and a week after. And obviously the spots post-event will be different messaging. Thank you, we've now raised $572,000, or we've now done X, and our goal is another 30,000, please help, and we want to thank Remax, or we want to thank Home Hardware. So what you do, again, part of your strategy is in that $7,500 package or $5,000 package, you earmark either 10 or 15% to your radio partner. And we talked about media. Media should be part of your, when I say we talked about it before, because I know a lot of you have participated with me before, you want to go to media, your local media, with money. And believe me, that gets their attention. Asking for stuff free doesn't do anyone any good. You get to control the spots and the recognition for your partners. So you got to earmark some of your sponsorship. And it is the first deal you do moving forward. Even if you haven't done it yet, which we haven't, we're going to do it right away. Because if you decide after today's conversation that you may want to sell naming rights or presenting sponsorship, the conversation will be much easier if you tell them that you've got the local newspaper as your partner and they're giving us pages, or the local radio station. That will really help you in your conversations with prospects who may be able to participate in the $7,500 or the $10,000 level. So refresh, not only on site, but give some consideration to what you can do pre and post. Any questions on that before we move on?
Not right now, Judy.
Okay, so let's talk about lead generation. I mentioned that I'm on LinkedIn. I don't know how many of you are looking for products. I presume all of you, because that's why you're on this call. So, as I mentioned, firms like Mosaic, and they're only one of many. I think I looked it up this morning because everybody's changing their name. There's a number of experiential marketing firms like XMC. There's probably 20 in our city, in our province, that are managing brands. There's experiential marketing firms focused on kids products, on healthy products, on, again, depending on whether you're allowed to. There's the cannabis category. So I urge you to Google experiential marketing firms. If you're in Orangeville, if you're in Huntsville, or if you're in Mississauga, I know Cambridge, I suspect that a number of firms will come up, and they need to know you're out there and that you're looking to work with them to give them some visibility. So that's one way to give some consideration to increasing your brands that are participating. LinkedIn, it's amazing if you link in with Roar, as an example, ROAR. Love her, Lori. She's got an organic beverage, which is now available at Petro-Canada. And you guys know the benefit of LinkedIn. If she links in back, then you can see all the people that she's associated with, all the bars, et cetera, et cetera. Again, knowing who you are and your brand relevance, you know, what categories do you want in your event? We can now talk about companies that have really done well through COVID in the last 2 years. And I know you all know this, but maybe it's probably worth examining again in your community. I mean, I just put together a list as early as this morning. Remember, I'm good before 8. You know, when was the last time you tried to buy lumber? It's very difficult to get. And as some of you probably know, that we did a deal with Muskoka Lumber in Bracebridge for naming rights for the community center. It was $2.2 million. I mean, anyone in the lumber business or anyone in the home renovation, I mean, I bet you 50% of the people on this call is doing some form of home renovation. That 80% of us, if not 95% of us, are in our home office. I mean, those are just obvious. The home fitness equipment. I mean, you know, how many of you guys worked out this morning in your home fitness equipment? How many of you are working from a product online for your workout? How are we ordering groceries? The delivery business is just soaring. I mean, again, Google, COVID businesses doing well, and they all come up, and they're all hiring. Some fast food chains are beyond busy with their delivery business. Gaming, toys, the kids' toy business is through the roof. Can't get enough product. And then, of course, you've got, you know, the Canadian Tires and the home hardwares, who would be, as you may have heard me say before, ideal naming rights partners because of all the suppliers that they have relationships with. Your grocery store. I mean, the general manager of your grocery store, they are beyond busy hiring. They could be a really terrific naming rights sponsor or a premier partner. Really got to get your sponsorship philosophy down pat if it's not too late, or just think on your feet and rejig it before you go live. The other big category, of course, again, all of you know this, has anyone tried to buy real estate in the last 24 months? So that takes me to real estate agents and home builders and land developers. Huge. And don't go to any of those people for $10,000. I beg you. And I also beg you to give consideration, if it is naming, to do a long-term deal. 3 years is just not enough. Want 5, and you should also give consideration to an incremental increase, cost of living, per year for your naming rights sponsor or your presenting sponsor.
I have a
Also,
question sorry. I have a question for you. What kind of lead time are you looking, if you're recommending going after these types of companies for a smaller event or even a larger event, what kind of lead time do you think it would take? Because you have to build a relationship, you have to get in front of them. So I'm just curious if you don't already have that.
well, again, it depends on the seller, and I know all of you are very skilled. So, and you have relationships in your community. Um, in the past 2 years, it has taken, even recently, where I met the buyer, it's a property in Calgary. It's a $3.5 million offer that's going to council March 8th for approval. I met that buyer on LinkedIn, VP of, because nobody was in their office. And I had the paperwork signed within 4 weeks.
Okay.
So when it's when there's only one opportunity, you can only have one naming partner. And this fellow knew, and he knew that if he didn't buy it, I absolutely am going across the street. Like, you've only got room for one player if it's a premier position. So to answer your question, Debbie, you don't need 6 or 8 months lead time. You're fine. I mean, it is spring, so you've got collateral material. That's more what you have to take into consideration is your print drop dead dates, not the buyers.
Okay, thanks.
The other categories to take into consideration that you may or may not have thought of is mortgage brokers. I mean, they are also doing really well, and a lot of them are located throughout Ontario. And so are, someone told me the other day, it was in the dog park, actually, I get a lot of leads, the transfer of wealth. We're going to experience the largest generational transfer of wealth in history in the next 10 years. So there are individuals working from their home offices offering wealth management. I mean, give some consideration to that category. Garden furniture. Has anyone ever tried to buy garden furniture in the last 12 months? Or a heat lamp? Or pet products? Home beauty products. I've heard funny things that you can't find hair color in the stores. They're sold out. Crafts are sold out. So these are companies, retailers, or even manufacturers who are doing really well. And we've talked about the Canadian Tire and the home renovation companies. And it could even be whether they're in, again, I'll say Orangeville because I think Orangeville is here, which is where my head office is, or Owen Sound, or wherever you may be. People in the home renovation business, cottage renovation business, are doing exceedingly well. I think there's a question here from Christine. For the companies that have product shortages, home renos, etc. Whoops. What else did the question say, Debbie?
If they can't, so for the companies that have product shortages from home renos, et cetera, if they can't get product, what's their incentive to become a sponsor? That's from Christine Kane from Southside Shuffle.
Thank you, Southside Shuffle. Because inevitably their world will change. Our world will change. And, you know, they will not always be in that great of a demand. I thought it was my parents, but I'm going to shut off my phone. So
I'm just conscious of the time too, and I know we wanted to go into a little bit on the agenda specifics as well. But it kind of
is someone asking a question? You're on mute, Deb.
Sorry, can't hear Gilbert. I think it was Gilbert who was asking a question. No? Okay.
No, sorry, I hit the wrong button. So sorry about that.
Oh, that's
No
okay.
problem.
Way to go,
Thanks,
Judy.
Barb.
Way to go.
Thank you. Go team, go. All right, so what else? How else can I help everybody here? Okay, are sponsorships considered charitable gifts? I only saw the first two lines, and I can tell you the answer is no. Now, not a flat out no. If Constantine wanted a tax receipt, they wouldn't be able to get one because they're in all the collateral material, they're in the marketing material, etc. However, if some of your sponsors are participating by supporting charity work, they're giving you cash, so they're paying, let's call it a rights fee, to play with you and your guests. But some of the other money is being used in another capacity, then you can earmark that percentage and get a charitable tax receipt for that percentage.
Rob has a question. Hey, Rob.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Debbie. Hi, Judy. Thanks for this. And I'm really glad I got the chance to listen to you and hear about from an expert. I'm a first-time sponsorship coordinator for a very small festival in Perth, Ontario. And one of the things that we're doing and we're hoping to do, because we haven't had one in a while, is an economic impact study, and it includes intercept surveys as well, and getting a team to do that. If you were to, beyond the demographic, the normal kind of stuff, at the festival, a 3-day event, in support of a sponsorship strategy longer term, over the next few years, is there any really key questions that you would say I should, or themes I should focus on as part of those surveys?
Great question, Rob. And, because we have asked these questions. What type of car do you drive? And are you planning to replace your car? Or do you lease your car in the next 3 years? That's hugely valuable if you're planning to talk to someone in the automotive category, which I'm sure all of us do. So the same could be asked, are you planning to travel by plane or by train in the next 3 years? And if so, where? Canada, US, international. Give them 3 choices. Do you use a credit card? Are you with a credit union or a financial institution? And if so, would you consider changing? I mean, I know that sounds really aggressive, but the more specifics you can ask around categories, the more helpful that will be when you go and talk to these companies with empirical data saying 50% of our audience is planning to buy a new car in the next 3 years, or is unhappy with their financial institution and would consider changing. So, Mr. Credit Union, why don't we talk about how to get you engaged and do something to motivate people to join the credit union? You've got to, as a seller, think about your property as being a pass-through rights. They're using you to gain customers. They're not using you as a billboard or as an impression. We've got the radio campaign, which satisfies a different agenda. But if I own the local car dealership or the local fast food chain or I've lived in a small town, and I'm just thinking about the companies there, and they're all run by individuals, and they're all decision makers, and they're all looking for more business. So you've got to keep that in mind when selling to them, and what it is that they want. The mortgage broker wants more clients. That could be another question. Do you currently have a mortgage? Will you be renewing your mortgage? If 10% of your participants are going to be renewing the mortgage, your mortgage broker who comes in at $5,000 or whatever the number is, he's got 10 hot leads.
Does that help, Rob?
Yeah, very much so. It's one of those things that I think more about demographics, numbers, and types of people, but it's those specific questions are, I'll definitely look at that from a category perspective about our sponsors. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
We do have some more questions on the chat. It's from Marnie Lapierre. In follow-up to Zelda Brown's question, if the sponsorship's not considered a charitable gift, can the letter of acknowledgement from the organizer to the sponsor be used in income tax reporting as marketing costs?
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I'm sorry. I'm not an accountant, so I would recommend that's another category, bringing an accountant onto your team. We haven't talked. I don't know the answer. I'm sorry, but it does lead me to another conversation about having a committee, a subcommittee, not people who are paid but are interested in your property and the growth of your property. We're doing that this year more aggressively than ever. And we have 13 people on that subcommittee. Are they all going to, some are interested in volunteers, some are interested in marketing, some are interested in sponsorship. You might want to give some consideration to that. Sorry for the tangent.
That's okay. That's great. Marina from Bebe Station says, how can I, as a service provider, lounges for parents to nurse, feed, change babies, assist events to acquire sponsorship to pay for my services?
Say that again.
So she is Marina here? Maybe you could unmute and talk about it.
Hi there. Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, good. Great.
Hi there. Hi, this is a great topic, and I apologize. I kind of came in late, but Judy, thank you very much for this. I'm a service provider, so I provide lounges at festival and events for parents to come in, and moms can nurse and dads and moms can change their kids' diapers. And a lot of the events that I deal with say to me, we're going to try and find a sponsor because we can't pay your fee in full. Because there's a lot of other priorities, but my goal is because when an event says that they're family friendly, I'm trying to provide a service that's family friendly. So how can I assist them in acquiring sponsorship apart from saying, here's all the plus of having me there, so I can help them make their package more intriguing, I guess, for somebody to be able to want to shell out the sponsorship dollars.
Right. So, Marina, I guess what I would recommend to you is that you don't depend on these events to help fund your work because they're busy trying to fund the execution. And so I think you've got to take, if you can, find a way to package yourself and find your own sponsor or sponsors. Because I appreciate the value add that you are bringing to the property. And I appreciate that you have costs associated. I'm just trying to think out loud how you can, self-fund. And I don't have the answer other than you trying to find your own sponsors. Package yourself. You might be traveling across the province and you're in, 12 different markets, and there might be a company that wants to reach the same demographic that you're reaching.
Thank you. No, that I have done that before, definitely pre-COVID, because it was easier then. But I will say that that is part of my plan as well. As I said, I have had different events say to me, "We want you here, but we can't afford you." So, you know, and I think it's a half and half. That if I do have my own sponsor, then I absolutely will. You know, I'll go in with all guns blazing. But I also want to be able to support them as well if they have, you know, potential sponsors that they could have, you know, provide them with the cost to cover my cost. But understood. Very good. Thank you.
And Tom has a question. Tom Akins has a question again. Tom, did you want to ask it and unmute, or did you just want me? I'll read it, and you can. Yeah. Okay. So Tom said, "What sort of clauses, conditions are major sponsors requiring in their contracts with respect to event cancellation due to COVID?"
That's obviously a new theme, and I was counseling someone who was doing that in the States. It's new language that's being written into contracts. If in the case that the event cannot occur, their 3-year term starts in 2023 or whatever the case may be. Timelines are adjusted.
Okay. Does that help, Tom? Great, thanks. Christine again from Southside Shuffle. It's hard to get past the gatekeeper, but when you do, it's important to get your pitch across quickly. Is it best to talk about how your demographic matches their product or service? I usually talk about our demographic controlling 70% of the disposable income. Is that a good opening?
Excellent question. I think, your opening really is, hello, my name is Judy Haber, and I'm working with FEO or whomever it is. So that's 10 seconds. And I'd like to, I think we have a way that we can help you sell more product. And what's really important here, if I may back up, is the opening pitch shouldn't necessarily be with the owner. You need a coach. So the coach could be the general manager of the store. It could be the director of sales. Talk to the coach. Say, my name is Judy. I'm working on X. I'd like to find a way that we can work together. I know you need to sell more. I know what you need. You want to sell more insurance, or you want to sell more cards, or you want to sell more windows or more lawn furniture. Can you help me before I speak with the decision maker? People love to help. So warm yourself up to the conversation before you get to the decision maker. Get information so that you can have all the hot buttons you need for that conversation. But understand, principally, even though people want to do nice stuff, and it's all nice at $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, really, we're here really to talk about, the $10,000, $15,000, $25,000. We're beyond just being nice now. And the home builders have much more capacity than that. And in every market that we're talking to right now that's on this line, we all have home builders who are exploding, who have 6 figures. And aim high.
Yeah, it's always negotiable.
Aim high. Stop thinking about the 500 and the 2,000. I mean, that's going to just eat up all of you when you can be out there commanding more money.
Agreed. Christine says, thank you, very helpful. Are there any other questions out there? Is there anything else, Judy, that you want to cover?
Well, I just want to, reiterate aim high. Increasingly, why I reached out to you, Debbie, to have this conversation is that we're finding so many events are talking now about how to work more strategically with the town, or the city or the municipality that they work with, and how to increase the value of their event, and how to bundle their event with maybe some town assets. Whether it's an opera house or whether it's skating rink or it's a baseball park, the business of naming rights is not only alive with events, but it's alive with our physical assets. So is there an opportunity to have that conversation with your leadership in town about, if we're going to talk to developers or automotive or whoever category is, and we want to go in big, shouldn't we be talking about naming rights for our physical assets? So it's the Toyota Park where we're hosting the XYZ festival. So it seems to be there's a trend for events in towns, in municipalities, coming to us saying, how do we have this conversation with our leadership in town to get them to start thinking big? We've lost money over the past 2 years. We want to recover money. It's a big hill to climb, but we can get there faster if we have physical assets in addition to our event assets.
Great. Rob has another question. Go for it, Rob.
Hey, thanks. Sorry, and I hope I'm not taking up too much airtime, but I just was asking about valuation of your assets. I know it's not an arbitrary thing, but certainly it's maybe scaled to the attendance of like how many eyeballs would actually be engaged and how many people going through the turnstiles. Maybe you can just speak a little bit about valuation and your kind of perspective on it.
Mm-hmm. Very often, whether it's an event or even a physical asset, the value, there's tangible assets, the eyeballs, the media campaign, the collateral material. Then there's the intangible, the prestige of your property. Is this event, the biggest thing to happen in town? Category exclusivity is an intangible asset. You're going to be the only automotive at our jazz festival. And very often when we engage in valuations, the intangibles actually are worth more than the tangible.
Rob had a thumbs up on that one, Judy.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? Anything burning? Oh, Jay put to have further conversations with Judy. You can find her on LinkedIn.
Let's start the conversation.
Let's start the conversation.
Go and meet people. They're out there. Everyone's home and they're on LinkedIn. So get in there and start talking to brands. Like, there's new brands appearing every day. It's amazing, the innovation. It's no longer just Coke and Pepsi. Thank God.
So we've had, there is another question here from Markham. Jazz Festival trend also is to stimulate travel and attract visitors back to community. Ontario 2022 staycation tax credit. Christine Kane said, excellent and very informative webinar as always, Judy. Thank you. Gilles Biles says, you are gold, Judy. Thank you for all you do for us in this space. Great session from Tom. Thanks so much. So you're getting gold stars, Judy, again.
Thank you, everybody. Love you. And
Thanks so much for
we'll see
joining.
you live soon.
Yes, let's hope so. 2023. Don't forget our conference is happening March, every Tuesday and Thursday, the month of March, except spring break. And hope you register and come on board. You can go to our website to find out who the speakers are. Thank you, Judy, again. This has been amazing. And I don't have anybody lined up next week, but I'm still looking. So don't give up on me yet. So we will talk to you and have a great week, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you.